Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Roop Rai, and you're watching Stories That Matter, which is brought to you by TC San. We're live Monday to Thursday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time on Facebook and YouTube at TC San 2. And you can also follow us on Instagram for behind-the-scenes updates at TC San 2 as well. Today, my guest is Jasraj Hallan. He's an MP for Calgary Forest Lawn, and he assumed office on October 21st, 2019 in the 2019 Canadian federal election. He was born in Dubai, but he immigrated to Canada as a child and was raised in Calgary. He's also a business owner in Calgary, owning a home building business, and I got that information from Wikipedia. And I'm curious to know about his political journey and his future plans. Let's bring him onto the screen. There you go. I love this part when we play that ideas on point intro, and then the guest just pops up. It's like magic.
It's so dramatic.
Hi, Jasraj. Thank you for being here
How are
today.
you? Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on your show again.
Before we started, me and Jasraj were chatting, and he said that this is his, sixth interview today?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I told him that he was prepping for the real one, the main
real one, that's right.
the main interview. All right. Well, thank you so much again for making the time. I know you're really busy, and I know you have two little girls in your house and full plate, but you still made the time to be here today. Really, really appreciate it. I'm going to start with something political first because we will talk about your personal later. Let's get this out of the way. I want to talk about something that you posted today about the about the vaccine rollout. Let me pull that picture here. Hold up. There you go. So Canada is now in the 36th place in vaccines administered per 100,000 people. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, first, it's not something to call out as a good thing. You know, this should not be a political thing, but it goes to show the point that since this pandemic has started, this government really hasn't been able to keep up with what's needed for Canadians. I can just give you the example of last year. So there was reports that December 2019, the government had information about this virus that was really dangerous and it was potentially coming to Canada. And so in January 2020, our party started asking the government, are we ready for this? What are we doing to be prepared for it? And as we know, the government didn't take any real steps until March of 2020. And that was already too late. And throughout the pandemic, we've seen a really slow response. We want to see this government to succeed. We want to see a successful vaccine rollout because why wouldn't anyone? This is not a political issue. This is for Canadians' lives and livelihoods. And we want to see everyone succeed and get out of this pandemic more than anything, because we've seen all the devastation of small businesses, people's mental health. There's so many issues that we're seeing. So at this point, in the beginning, when vaccines were about to come out, we were asking questions. We got so many different answers of when vaccines would be available for all Canadians. And now we finally got an answer that September. But in the beginning, the government had put all of its eggs in China's basket with CanSino. So they were relying on a Chinese company to provide all these vaccines, and that fell through. Now we're in our second week, and we don't have a single vaccine new that came in here. First, the government was blaming the provinces, and now we have no more vaccines. So we want them to succeed. We actually want to work with them and do a Team Canada approach. But the thing is, we want to see what those contracts look like as well. We want to see how many more are we going to get? What kind of agreements do we have? How can we improve those? Because at the end of the day, these are Canadians' lives and livelihoods. And to see that we're at 36th in the world right now, that is not good whatsoever. That we need to have better bargaining at that table. If we can help in any way, we're willing to do that. So again, we want to see this government's vaccine rollout succeed because we want people to back at work. We want everyone's lives to go back.
And I believe there is a vaccine committee as well. I think my MP here in the Calgary Northwest, Michelle Rempel, she is on that committee. So do you have any idea about what the next steps of this government are going to be in regards to the vaccine rollout?
Look, that's a question that we've been asking since the beginning of the pandemic, and we want Canadians to know, and Canadians deserve to know what is the plan, because we all want to get our lives back to normal, and these are important questions. So again, like for instance, in my riding, we have a company that is able to produce vaccines right here in Canada. Yet our government decided to, get vaccines from anywhere but, and we should be looking at local first. And I have, like I said, in my own riding, I have people like a company that can do that. And Michelle's been doing an amazing job trying to get answers from the government just up until today. Like she's asking the right questions. So we're hoping that they can work with us and at least provide a plan so Canadians know, like, what are we looking at and in what timeline.
I have the photo that you posted about the company that you spoke of, the Providence Therapeutics. They're
That's
in
right.
your writing, and what's happening with that now? Are they getting any? I know you said that there was they had a meeting with the Minister of Science. I read it in the article that you posted, but did that happen? Did that go through? So what has happened since?
So I myself have asked for a meeting with them, and I'm hoping that within this week I can meet with them. And whatever it'll take, like I'm willing to help get them at that table, and let's get those vaccines started here, right, locally, so that we can help. As many, like the government talks about a vast, a big portfolio, but if we can do that locally here, we're not only helping our economy, but we're helping Canadians and their lives. So I'm willing to do anything it takes with that meeting.
Yeah, because we will be the priority then, right? Like if it is homegrown, it's made in Canada, so we will be a priority as opposed to now the vaccines that we're getting from US. US citizens are a priority. My sister who lives there, she got her second dose today. So and she was totally gloating about it. But yeah, so I like you said, you have a meeting with them this week. And I've never really heard that there was any research happening in Calgary. This was actually the first time I heard about it. You hear of Toronto, you hear of Vancouver, but I'd never heard that there was something in Calgary as well. So that was new to me.
I didn't want to make this too political, this interview, but they've done the same thing with our energy industry. We have our own resources here, but we're always looking, like they're looking to shut down our energy industry here and bring in foreign oil, pay a lot of money for oil that is not regulated or doesn't have any restrictions on when it comes to the environment. So it just goes to show that we need to support local, we need to support our own resources and companies. And that's something that I think all across the board Canadians will say that's what we need to do right now. And the same thing went for our rapid testing. We're still behind on rapid testing. It's been how many months we're into this? Almost a year. And we're still behind on it. That is costing people their lives. It's costing their livelihoods because people have to sit at home. And as we know, like people it's like we're suffering here in Alberta economically. And for them to sit home extra days to wait for a test, we're really not doing any services to them.
So we spoke about Keystone a couple of days ago. Last week, my husband is oil and gas in the oil and gas industry as well. Yes, we're all hurting in different ways. We're all hurting in Alberta. It doesn't matter what you do in Alberta because everything is dependent on. A lot of things are dependent on oil and gas. Coming back to the vaccine rollout, so what are you recommending to the government right now? What is your party stand right now?
Our party stand has been the same throughout. We need to make sure that we're getting vaccines into Canadians' arms. They need to release some of these contracts that they have said that they have this vast, big portfolio. But we want to see what are those all about. No one knows what they really are. And we need to get them into people's arms now. And that includes, we should have started the focus here in Canada, made in Canada, because that would have helped us succeed. We see that the EU might put on some sanctions for when it comes to the vaccines, and they might not be able to get them here. Now, the government doesn't have that in writing. They say that that won't happen, but it's not in writing. They can't get that in writing, so we don't know if that's going to happen or not. Our party stance has always been to support Canadians first. We would have shut down the borders earlier when when Intel was already telling us to do so, we would have made sure that rapid testing was a lot more than we have right now. And it goes back to the same thing. There are companies, even here in Calgary, that are producing rapid testing. And we should have been putting more support on them and helping them through the process to get it regulated. So just small steps on what we would have done and what we still think we can still do this, but we need to work together in order to do that. If we can go and help them out in that contract or any type of power as far as contacting other countries, if that's what need be, we're willing to sit at the table, but we hope that they would help us sit at that table.
All right. I told you that this interview is not going to be very political, so we're getting all the political things out of the way early on. I wanted to also ask you, I remember at one of the debates during your election, this question did come up where people practically said that Conservative Party is a racist party and Conservative Party is not at all inclusive. And I asked this question to Jack Sahota as well. How do you answer that? Do you have you experienced any racism, or have you experienced that you were not included in anything in your party, or how do you feel like an outsider, or how do you answer people who accuse of, literally, I mean, it's a narrative. So how do you answer that?
Well, that's a great question, Roop, and I'd be more than happy to answer that. So I came here when I was young. I faced a ton of racism, and so is my family, just like every other immigrant. Like, I mean, walking home as a 5-year-old kid and get spat on by people driving by. I used to have pop cans thrown at me, beer cans, by people just driving by or just standing by in front of their house. So, but these things have always helped me, like with God's full grace. Like, those are experiences I used later on in life to help me and help others. So and I think that ties in for the reason, another question, which is why the Conservative Party? So first and foremost, to answer the part of like, let's get the diversity part covered. So when I was running provincially, we had more diverse candidates than any other party. And that Conservatives, we don't just hand over our nominations or acclaim. These are people that fought in really contested nominations. So and there was how many women were running for our party as well. And it goes to show that it was all won by merit. And that's something very important to take a look at, that these were not just positions handed to us. We had to earn those, and we had to earn those votes. And again, provincially, we had the most diverse candidates in the entire province. I cannot say that I've had any type of bad experience at all. And why did I choose the Conservative Party? I come from a small business background. And when we moved here, we all heard about that Alberta Advantage. We've heard a lot about that. But what that meant was, when we were, growing up, it was an opportunity for anyone, including our parents, to be able to do whatever they were passionate about to do. There was an advantage here in Alberta. We were doing really well as a province, and you had that chance to do that. And what drove me more and more towards this way is that going through small business, I was very fortunate to meet a lot of successful and a lot of people that were charity focused. And a lot of those minds were conservative thinking minds, because we believed, as small business owners, the less government regulations, the less the government has their hand in your business, you're able to be more successful. And in my experience, it was always the small business owners that were willing to do more charity work than charities themselves. And I was very fortunate enough to sit on a lot of charity boards through the work that we did. And it was something that I noticed a lot, that a lot of these people were conservative thinking minds, and their basic rule was to be as successful as possible so we can help as many people and get government out of the way so that there's no restrictions on how successful someone can become and how much charity we can give through that. So those are the main reasons. And when we look at diversity, like, our party is always filled with a lot of diverse minds and a lot of diverse backgrounds. And that doesn't just have to be your skin color. there's people from all over, and that's how we should look at it, that we all are looking for a better Canada, a better Alberta. No matter what the candidate is which party they're affiliated with, that's the reason why we're running. And that's, I think, where we should be putting the focus on.
I think I agree with that completely. No matter what party you're running from or with, you need to be passionate and you need to believe what the party stands for. And it's really good to see that you're very passionate about choosing Conservative and you have your reasons for it and you know what you're doing. And my next question was going to be that why did you choose to be in politics? Because you were in business, you were doing well. Why did you choose to be in politics?
So I'd like to just take it back to, I grew up in the Gurdwara. I can say, like, my mom would make sure that we were at the Gurdwara every single day. I've been very blessed in my life to be around a lot of, like we call them Bazurgs, so our very respected seniors. And what I learned from them at a really young age was just their spirit to, no matter what it takes, is just to help out. And now that we see what's going on in India with the farmers' protest, they're literally, our Bazurgs, our moms, our sisters are sitting there in the cold. They're braving the cold and sleeping outside overnight, even though they're being faced with violence. But they don't break their own spirit. And they keep on going because there's a good that they're trying to achieve, and there's a bigger goal than what they consider that is of themselves. And being around a lot of our Bazurgs, our respected seniors, growing up in the Gurdwara, they would always put the focus on always helping and giving back, no matter what it takes. And I learned a lot of those lessons. And it's funny when you go door knocking and you listen to the Bazurg stories, and sometimes you ask them, "Oh, this, this." I was talking to this youth, and they had this problem. They laugh and they say, "You think that's a problem? Let me tell you what happened to me." And you see how much adversity they faced, and it never stopped them. So at a young age, I was around people that were always looking to give back to the community. Growing up, I was again very fortunate enough. We didn't grow up with much. We're a typical immigrant story. My parents, like, how much they did for us, and at a young age, I learned that you have to put in hard work through my parents, and working to, my mom worked 2 jobs. Me and my brother raised my little sister. I don't know how good of a job we did, but that's what it took, right? But at the same time, we learned a lot of lessons growing up. I guess you want to call it poor or in poverty, but you learn a lot of lessons and you learn how to work within a diverse group of people. So I did play a lot of sports growing up. That helped contribute to why I got into politics. You learn how to play your role in a bigger team for a bigger cause. And being able to work through charity and different organizations and helping at-risk youth was a big thing because I was an at-risk youth. All these things helped me in my goal to, what led me into politics. And my first experience, and I know many other youth had, was with the late Manmeet Singh Puller, right? And this was even before he was in politics. This was during the Nagar Kirtans, and I'll never forget, he would have, like, it was the first time I saw hands-free on a phone because his flip phone was tucked into his dastar, and he was doing 10 things, and getting things done for the Nagar Kirtan. And we all know running a Nagar Kirtan is not easy. How many people you're dealing with, how many personalities you have to deal with, and you're doing it so that 20,000 people at that time come. They get to have the easiest time, and you accommodate for them to see what our community is about. They eat and they go home, but there's so much that goes behind it. So I learned through him and a lot of the people that were around them at that time, that it's just seva back to the community. I don't want to run on too much, but all these, I would say that he was the one who then in 2015 had asked me, do you want to run? Like, is this something that you're looking for? And I had never thought about it before that. I was helping out in campaigns before that. I've door knocked before that, helped put up signs, but never really thought about that. And it kind of put that seed in 2015. I didn't feel I was ready at all. And then fast forward to, like, right before Manmeet had passed away, he had given me a call and said, "Look, we're gonna get this done. We're looking to form one party. Let's get everyone together and let's get this done." And he passed away literally a month after that, unfortunately. And um, fast forward to 2019, and I got the chance to run. I won my first nomination, so that brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember Manmeet, he was always very encouraging of everybody, even when he met me. And at that time, I was associated with the opposite party. And even then, he was always very kind and always very encouraging, like wanted younger people to get engaged and involved in the political process. So I'll remember him for that forever. I did not know him growing up, but I did get to meet him at a later time. And I, yeah, he will always be remembered. All right, so coming back to 2019 election, it was first you ran for MLA in Calgary McCall, which I think was an excellent, very well run campaign. You didn't indulge in anything. I remember I was there, like I had a conversation with you about it because there were other people ripping signs and there were other people saying things and destroying signs. And your comment on it always was, no, we're not going to do anything wrong. We're going to keep it, clean, and we're going to keep it honest, and you maintain that. So I think that is a huge credit to your leadership in that campaign. And then came the opportunity to be an MP for Calgary Forest Lawn, which of course you won the election. I'm glad you did. How did you feel when you first went to Ottawa, especially being someone from the visible minority with a turban, and you're representing your constituency, your people in Ottawa? How does that feel?
Well, first, just to talk about McCall, like I'll tell you, like I'm still to this day, I'm so humbled by how much love and support that we got. Uh, I was door knocking in -40 because I had to, but the fact that there was 8 to 9 people out there, like I would think they're crazy. Like, why are you out here with me? I have to be out here, but you guys are doing this. But it was just how much love and how much support that you're nothing without your team, and it was because of them that it kept us going. And yes, it hurt when you lose any type of election or nomination, but I was so happy and so content at the fact that not a single person didn't, like, no one uh, put in less than 110% effort. No one. And that was the thing that I wasn't, of course, the result, it was not the way we wanted it to, but I've always been taught it's not about the result. It's about what are you doing on your journey? Are you happy with the amount of effort you put in? And with God's absolute blessings.
And the people that you meet on the way, people that join your team and your tribe, all of that matters.
Exactly. You are your team. Like that's you are nothing without that team. And it was because of all of them that we got to where we were. And so, I spent the summer contemplating, you think about what's next, what's next, what's next. I had someone really close to me tell me this, like, second day after we lost, was, you'll find out in 6 months, I feel, why this happened. With God's blessings, like that person was is still really close to me. And that's what they said. So back to your question, I'd like to say that I just want to leave this with everyone, that it should never be about the result. Your result is sometimes you can prepare all you want for a test, and when that test comes, it'll hit you in the face and you'll completely fail. But you should be satisfied and happy and have absolute gratitude with where you are and with the amount of effort you put in. Because if you're not happy with your effort that you put in, then of course you should be upset with yourself. So, walking into Ottawa, going to Ottawa, it is an absolute honor. I was in Ottawa at the end of last month, and that feeling is still there when you walk in, because you're so honored to be in such a respected place, and you remember every single morning who sent you here, that the people that sent you here from your riding, all those volunteers, all those donors, you cannot let those people down ever. And that sometimes means taking the hard route, taking the wrong stance in your party, but speaking up. Those are the things that they expect of you. And every single day, I can promise you that everyone feels this as an elected official, that you are honored to be where you are, and you have to remember who sent you there.
You said take a stance in your party and speak for what's right. Can you give us an example of when you did that?
Oh, absolutely. So just up until recently, we obviously had a debate going on about the we had a member that we kicked out, and I like to always look at both sides of what we're doing, what kind of precedents, because we should always have a reason for, if because those same reasons might come up later with someone else. So it needs to be just. Yes, I felt in my heart that what that person said and the way he was his pattern was wrong. But I still stood up for some of the values that he had
Mhm.
said or some of the things that he brought up because they made sense to me. It's still our job to be able to look at, and that's why we debate in the house. We debate both sides, and we should be able to do that. I took a very unfavorable stance in the way that I brought up some of the points that he had said, and the reason why I did that was because you have to look at both sides. The decision in my eyes was correct by all of our party, but it makes sense that we have to still talk about what, like, both sides of the debate.
I think I know what you're talking about. All right, we're gonna move on to your family. What about your wife? How does she think and feel about you not being in Calgary for, I think, quite a significant amount of time? Oh, they're there. Too
Well,
gorgeous.
bless her and my kids for putting up with me. Uh, my wife knew right away early on when we got married how much I don't stay at home, and I'll say that I'll say one thing. My mom warned her many times. Are you sure this is the person you want to marry? Because he doesn't ever stay home, and he's has he can be crazy sometimes. So, like, bless her for putting up with how much, and it's so true. If she wasn't there for that support and how much she does and what she does for our kids, like, I would not be here. I would not be able to be an MP or even run in the campaign we did. As you know, like, my daughter spent 4 months in the hospital. That was a tough time during the nomination. But if it wasn't for that support that we got, there was no way that I could ever imagine even being here today. So for her, she knows that this is a huge blessing, but she also knows that it's because of how much effort and what she did. That's why I get to do this.
Yeah, I've seen political life up close, and I've seen how taxing it is on your time. I mean, weekends are for constituents, and weekdays you are in Ottawa or you're in Edmonton for local MLAs here. It's really hard for families. Like, you are busy. The politician is busy in his or her work, but the family is the one that suffers, right? Because they don't get to see you, and the wife has to take on all the burden, or the husband has to take on all the burden of the spouse, right? So it's the family that really is just has a hard time with all of it. So I'm just
100%. But it is, the way I look at what these roles are, we can make it whatever we want to make it. So if we want to make it of just 100% work all the time, that's not fair either. So it is up to us. You have to put in that effort. Like, being able to take out that time. FaceTime is now available. We have Zoom. We have everything. We can still keep up. Like, between meetings, it is important. Like, rather than like doing something or going on social media, it's great to get caught up. So communication is huge, and cherishing that time is even bigger. So I try to take out as much time as I can, and I'm just fortunate. Like, even being a small business owner, I really wasn't home that much. I wasn't able to sometimes. So I was working 16 plus hours sometimes. But I'm so thankful that we have such a great family support that I'm able to do this. And I'm honestly, I have nothing but, like, I thank God every single day that I'm able to do this because of them.
all right. Let's wrap this up. I'm going to talk quickly about your parents and your brother and your sister who were a part of the campaign, and how are they feeling now?
Oh, amazing. If you ask my mom, she could care less if I'm an MP, MLA. I could be the prime minister. She just wants me first and foremost. She asked me, Nitnem Gita, Bhagavad Gita, like, just remember the values that you were taught. And from my dad, I was always taught things like, I'll give you an example in grade 8 about accountability and making sure I do the right thing. I asked in grade 8, can I go snowboarding? And at first he said, yeah, schools take you snowboarding. And I told him, softly, you have to warm him up to the fact, yeah, it's going to be about $180 to go snowboarding for the week. And he stopped and he paused and he said, "Listen, there are cheaper ways to break your legs. You want me to spend $180 to break your legs? I'll tell you 10 different ways to do it for free." So just for his guidance, that always think about what you're going to do and the impact it's going to make. And they are my biggest supports. They're absolutely like the blessings why we're here. I learned many things from them. I'm very fortunate to have a brother who's like, everyone knows him before me. I'm just Manraj's brother. Even as becoming a member of parliament, I'm still just Manraj's brother. And rightfully so, because I learned so much from him. The amount of patience that person has and the work ethic he has, I've never seen that. And my sister is such a passionate person, and she has so much love for everything and everyone, and I'm just blessed to be around them. And now we have an extended family where I feel the same amount of love. And you saw that in our campaign that everyone was there and everyone was doing their part. So I feel very blessed to have grown up in the family that we did.
I think I also knew you as Manraj's brother when we first. Yeah. Everyone knows Manraj. And what you said about your dad and the snowboard, I think that's every brown parent. Every
Exactly.
brown, my dad, that's what my mom or my dad would say that too. Very well. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. I know you were busy, but you still made the time. Really appreciate it. It was lovely getting to know you better. And I wish you all the success in everything that you do.
Thank you, and thank you for creating this platform. I think you're doing an amazing job, especially for the youth. I see all the great leadership that those young women on your show, the Gen Z, are doing, and you know how encouraging that is to see. So thank you for showing that leadership and creating this platform for current and future leaders, because they are current leaders right now, believe it or not. And thank you for encouraging them. And it's an absolute honor for me to be on here with you.
Thank you, Jasraj.
Thank you so much.
All right, so that was Jasraj Singh Hallan, MP Calgary Forest Lawn. You can check his Facebook page out, Jasraj Singh Hallan, easy to find. All right, and quickly I wanted to mention that our weekly giveaway is sponsored by Saj by G. She has a Facebook page, which is @Saj by G, and she has an Instagram page too, @Saj by G. So if you're looking to get a present for yourself or your Valentine on this Valentine's, you don't have to look anywhere else. Just like this video and you'll be entered into a draw to win a gorgeous pair of earrings. Let me play. Oh, where's the video? I lost it. And that's me and Ali clicking on the same button together. All right, so that was it for today. We will be back tomorrow with Gen Z. They will be talking about wearing ethnic clothing in Canada, in wearing ethnic clothing going to school, wearing ethnic clothing going to university. Would they do it? Would they not do it? So they'll be talking about it tomorrow at 6 p.m. We're here Monday to Thursday at 6 p.m. So stay tuned. Bye-bye. Have a good night.